Buhari. My guest this morning is Ismail Omipidon. Mr. Omipidon is the journalist, first of all, and he's the immediate past chief press secretary to the former governor of Osun State. And thank you very much. You're not the first come on this program.
The pleasure is mine.
Indeed.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, as you know, you have a new administration, even though I have heard your principal, or maybe heard is not the right word, I have read of your principal insisting that he's quite enthusiastic of governing, Osun State, again, no doubt referring to court processes that are in the works. So first of all, to just sort of sort that out, a new governor has been sworn in. It's a done deal, is what most people would think. It's a done deal. That is over and done with. And so for your principal to be saying at this time that he's still optimistic of, regaining his office, explain that.
Thank you very much. For us, we have implicit confidence in the judiciary to do a thorough job as far as the petition before them is concerned. And we are very, very hopeful that by the grace of God.
For anybody who is hearing of this for the first time, the petition is to the effect that we did not lose.
Yeah, like I said, we only lost the vote count. We never lost the election. You recall that on the 17th of July, when the result of the election was announced, I had the privilege of appearing on a TV program that same evening. And I said to our viewers then that even though we're still studying the results of the election, but as a journalist who also had members of my team out there who monitored the election, if I cannot speak on any area as far as the conduct of the election is concerned, that I could speak authoritatively on Eden North and South.
Okay.
What happened was that as of July 16th, on the day of the election, by 7 p.m., virtually all the media houses who were deployed to the state covering the election were reporting that voting had ended 7 p.m. But as at 10:30 p.m., voting was still on in Eden North and South. And I went further to state that I have it on the good authority that by 2:30 p.m., those who were voting by 10:30 p.m. were not on the queue, in line with INEC guideline and in line with INEC guideline for the election. And at the end of the day, we lost that vote count by 28,000 across the state. And that difference came only from Ede.
I see.
So that is that. Now, but when we now finished studying the result of the election, we realized that they were overvoting in 749 polling units.
No less.
Yeah, 749 out of the over 3,000 polling units in the state. And by the time we applied for the certified true copy of the BVAS report, don't forget that according to the Electoral Act and INEC guideline, accreditation can only be done by BVAS. Now, by the time we applied for the certified true copy of the BVAS report, we were able to establish some of our fears. That in the 749 polling units that we are challenging, the number of votes declared were far above the number of those that were accredited. And so in simple language, they were overvoting in 749 polling units. That is part of the things we are challenging. Again, we are also challenging his eligibility to even run in the first instance.
That is the eligibility of the incumbent governor, Adeleke.
Yeah, don't forget that in 2018, after the 2018 election, he was arraigned for, I think, forgery or so. The proceeding was on. He applied for bail under medical grounds, and the bail was granted him, and he left the country. And nobody saw him again until he returned some few months to the election to contest. That also is another, on those two grounds, on those two grounds, we are confident that by the grace of God,
and especially on the the position that there was overvoting in 749 polling units. No doubt, if you're making a petition to the court, they're going to want to see evidence.
Yeah, we
would have properly filed.
We have done all that. The tribunal is on. I think as at the last sitting, there was contention as to because we applied for his certificates and all the papers he filed to contest for the 2018 election. We applied that they be brought to court. You know, they played some game. We got subpoena. The tribunal granted the subpoena, compelling INEC to come with those documents. But on the day they appeared, the resident electoral commissioner did not appear. He sent a representative, and there was this back and forth whether over who should actually produce it. And he told the court that the INEC office in Osogbo was no longer in possession of those materials. And so our lawyers now argued for that since he didn't say they can't find it, he said they are no longer in Osogbo or that they are in Abuja, he should go and fetch it. So as at the last ruling, the tribunal ruled that they must produce those documents in court. So tomorrow is the next date of the sitting. So we'll wait to see
how it goes from there.
How it goes from there. So we are very, very confident that by the grace of God, we will claim our mandate back.
Seeing as we've come this far, a new government has been sworn in, actions, executive actions have begun to be taken. I was wondering, because you being close to your principal, I was wondering, doesn't he feel that we could just move on from here? There are other fish to fry, and this has been done. It has been done. Is that anything that ever crossed your principal's mind, or never? He's known from day one, following the election, that he's not happy with this and he's going to fight it till the end.
Well, if you know the antecedent of my principal very well, you will know that he's one man that has proven beyond all reasonable doubt that you can still be very, very decent and still be in politics. For instance, I break it down for you. In the history of electioneering in Nigeria, the last election in Osun is the first election where you will find a sitting governor going for a re-election and did everything possible to refuse to heat up the polity unnecessarily. You did not see us apply any do-or-die tactics.
Okay.
Ordinarily, elsewhere, the incumbent will engage in anything and everything to ensure that he remains in power at all costs. We never do any, we never did any of that because we believe very strongly that we have done enough to earn the trust of the people. And if you look at the result of the election, in spite of all that happened, in 2018, for instance, he scored barely a little above 250,000 votes. But in 2022, he garnered about 375,000. That's over 50% increase in what he got earlier. So that, for me, is a significant confirmation that indeed the people of the state still loves him.
Okay. So, and as you said, your governor, the former governor, was a man who clearly believed in being a gentleman in politics. That's what you seem to be saying.
Yeah, gentleman in politics. Unfortunately, a lot of people took advantage of that.
Gentlemanly disposition.
That gentlemanly disposition of my principal.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to sort of get the, up on that, and we just learned that tomorrow is the next tribunal date when we shall hear, according to, what you've just told us. Meanwhile, you've been at, your principal has been at great pains to explain that he was not leaving the state broke. He was leaving the state, in fact, with 14 billion naira, for example, as things are beginning to happen. Did you feel there was a need for that to be said? I mean, whatever is in the banks, the new administration will see, will know, and or you were just concerned with credit being given where it is due?
Not necessarily for credit to be given where it is due. You know, in this climb, they play politics with anything and everything. And usually, we have tried as much as possible to entrench good governance in the state. Okay. This was a state, at the time we took over, nobody gave us a chance. This was a state that struggled to pay salary before we came on board. This was a state where, on daily basis, you hear every negative things about the state. We have been able to reverse all that. And so we felt very strongly that there was a need to give what looked like a stewardship account of what we did in 4 years before people begin to say, he didn't do anything, he didn't do that. So those who reported that angle of the story, that was just one aspect of the farewell statement from my principal. So it was a farewell statement which was released on the 26th of November, signaling the end of the first term of my principal. Even if there was no change of government, we would still have gone ahead to give that stewardship account, because there is a need for people to know where we started from, because we inherited over 200 billion debts as of 2018. And we ran the state effectively, efficiently for 4 years without borrowing, without taking any bank loan. Besides that, we were also able to pay 97 billion from the debts that we inherited. Just imagine if we had 50 out of the 97 billion debt repayment that we did to play around with. Imagine what we could have done. And that in spite of all this, we still left 14 billion in the coffers. Okay. So it's just part of our stewardship account. We build roads that had been abandoned for close to 30, 40 years. Adaigbajo Road, Yakoyo Ribomeje Road, Oshogbo Kelebe Iragbiji Road, Aleku Odo network of roads. And we also started the construction of Oshogbo Iwo Road. Okay. In fact, that is very significant. Significant in the sense that when we set out to fix that road, we realized that if we fix our own part of the road, which is a little above 50 kilometers, and the Oyo State does not do their own part of the road, our effort will be a wasted one. Because what it then meant was that if you fly from Oshogbo to Iwo, once you leave Iwo, the same problem we're trying to solve, reduce hour of traveling, and ensure socio-economic activities on that axis will be defeated. We reach out to His Excellency, Engineer Seyi Makinde, and he graciously accepted that we could collaborate to fix that stretch of the road, totaling about 91 kilometers.
Well, it's interesting. All this was done, and yet the election went the way it went. You would have thought otherwise. But then you started by explaining that, as far as you're concerned, 749 polling units, there was wuru voting going on. Yeah. So long story short. Yeah. Okay, let's turn our attention now. Thank you for that background, because we wanted to find out if we were really moving on. And yes, we are moving on. A new governor has been sworn in. Governor Adeleke of the PDP is in place, and he has been taking some, first steps, shall we say. Maybe to look at that, you touched on some of those things. This whole question of 12,000 workers being sacked, this is one of the steps. Traditional rulers being, removed, so to speak. Tell me about the 12,000 workers being sacked first.
Well, again, I stated it long before now that the Osun PDP has a history of lying. In October, when I engaged in a conversation on a radio program with the spokesperson to the governor, when he mentioned that we had engaged 12,000 workers. And I told him that I hope that you will have the courage to apologize to the members of the public, and indeed the people of Osun, by the time they found out that that figure does not exist.
There were no 12,000 workers to be sacked?
How many is the workforce that will now add 12,000 between July and November? You know, and even when they announced the sack, I responded immediately with a 3-paragraph statement challenging them to publish the list of those 12,000 workers. That figure only exists in the imagination of the governor and his spokesperson, because I don't know where they got that figure from. To stretch it further, the employment we are talking about will be a little above 2,000, and this was how we arrived at them. When we came in, we saw a lot of gap in the teaching sector. And the report of the reform that was submitted to us, which included the issue of going back, reviewing the single uniform, which was a major issue before we came in, issue of reclassification of schools, issue of changing the names of schools that led some of the old students to even take the state government to court and even sever their relationship with the state government. So in that report, it was recommended that we should employ 7,500 teachers to fill the gap. Now, when we look at it, we look at the wage bill, we look at what we had, we now arrive at the fact that we're going to engage 2,500. Unfortunately, COVID did not allow us to start the process when we wanted to start. But eventually, we started the process early this year, long before the elections. It was JAM that helped us to conduct the exercise for the would-be teachers. And we announced early enough that we were going to do the recruitment in batches. And so we took the first set of 1,000, and we started this process before the election. So each time they say we're creating roadblocks or laying landmines for the incoming governor, the next question I ask is that, are you saying that when we started most of the processes we were going through, we knew what the outcome of the election would be, and so we were also planting landmines for ourselves? Because we started...
It doesn't make sense from that point of view.
It doesn't make sense. We started before the election. So by the time we finished with the 1,000, the next stage was the 1,005. So of the 2,000 that we employed, 1,005 would be teachers. And this process started long before the election. So I don't know where they got the figure of their 12,000.
So that's what I was going to finish with.
I don't know.
So where did the figure of 12,000
It was the spokesperson who issued the release, duly signed, in October. And he also came on air, because I engaged him on air in October. And I challenged him that I hope he will have the courage, because I knew he was lying.
He couldn't be, the facts couldn't line up the way.
Yeah, that I knew, that I hope he will have the courage to apologize to the Nigerian public and even the people of Osun if they end up discovering that the figure they are banding around is not correct.
Okay. Since then, have you had any inkling that they're beginning to sort of drive back a bit from where they were, or sometimes the people can double down?
What I noticed was on the day of the inauguration, when I was analyzing the speech of Mr. Governor, he claimed that every action...
That's Governor Adeleke, that
yes,
is.
He claimed that every action that was taken immediately after July 16 election would be a nullity.
Yes, yes.
And I kept wondering where such powers will come from. Are you saying that Oyetola, who was elected for 4 years tenure, whose mandate runs up until Saturday, November 26th, have no right to take actions? I'm even stretching it further that if we will go by his claim, then it means that even his inauguration is a nullity, because we're the ones who prepared girls for his inauguration. We're the ones who signed papers that prepared everything that were used for his inauguration. But again, he said he was going to issue executive order to back up those things he said. And by the next day, they read out about, I think, 6 executive orders. One of them was sacking of those workers. And because they were the ones who gave the figure of 12,000, journalists who reported latch on the figure. Now, the next day, they also said that the transitional rulers that were installed, that security operatives to take charge of their palaces. But by yesterday, when I listened to a spokesperson on radio again, he appears to be saying something different from what was said on Monday. Because by yesterday, what they are now saying was that they have not sacked anybody, and they have not asked any monarch to leave his palace. And the next question I ask is, how do we now explain those executive orders? Now, they say they are setting up a panel to review those things. But you have already made up your mind on what to do. You are now setting up a panel. I wonder what the panel will be coming to do. At any rate, the monarchs they are talking about were enthroned a little above 20. A little above 20. In fact, one of them, the king, his selection was concluded since last year. But because there were some legal orders, my principal insisted that until all those legal orders were cleared, he was not going to ratify the appointment. And so it was when all those legal orders were cleared that he ratified the appointment 1 year after the selection. Now, if you now say that, okay, because I had Honorable Bamidele Salam, a member of the House of Reps yesterday, from their side, saying that there were some legal issues surrounding the appointment of those monarchs. Assuming without conceding that there were legal issues surrounding the appointment of those monarchs, is the governor now assuming the role of the judiciary? Why don't he allow the judicial process to be concluded before taking any action? Well, if you admit that there were some legal encumbrances, why assume the role of the judiciary? Because when you now say that security operatives will take over their palaces, you are invariably saying that they should leave their palaces.
Okay, at this stage, let me just take this call that's coming from France. Alaji Salam in Paris. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much. We are enjoying your program, and I have a question for your guest.
Sure, sure.
That all Nigerians would like to know. We assume that when a governor is leaving an office or an incoming governor, there should be a prepared handing over that will indicate all what is left, or a statement of what they are going to be transferred. Please ask your guest for us. We want to hear from him. If his governor prepared any handing over for the incoming governor, that's one. Again, there are a lot of information that they passed out. We are expecting you, especially your program, to call the spokesperson for the new governor also to explain first. Because we have been told they sacked the governor. We later heard that somebody cannot sack sack workers before instituting a committee to review. So it is quite clear, it's logical, that it is a committee that the new governor mentioned in his special order. So you should tell us the truth. And all the problems the representative of the former governor was talking about happens to be from the previous governor, Ademola, the same APC. I remember. It's not from Adeleke.
All right.
So that's the point I want him to clear for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alaji Salam, calling in from Paris in France. Was a handover document indeed prepared? Was it used?
They were indeed prepared. This is a letter dated 23rd of November. Invitation to Transition Committee. We invited them formally so that we could look at the records we prepared. Now, apparently because of what they had planned to do, I say so because about 2 days, on the date we were to meet, a day before then, I had an engagement with the acting PDP, caretaker chairman of the PDP on the TV, where he was alluding to the fact that we were not carrying them along. And I said, no, it is not correct. that I am aware that the chief of staff to my principal is in touch with the people in your camp, and that they were supposed to meet about a day or so after the day we were talking. But later, we got a message from them that we should hand over to the most senior civil servant in the state. And that was what led us into writing this letter dated November 27th. If you permit me, I'll read. Presentation of handover report. I bring you warm greetings from the government and the good people of Osun. Further to my correspondent dated November 23rd, 2022, and reference SSG blah, 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 I write to inform you that the Government Transition Committee, constituted by His Excellency Governor Ademola, has concluded the compilation of a comprehensive handover report to facilitate a smooth transition of the incoming administration. Consequently, kindly find as attached a copy of the report for your information and further necessary action. Okay. Please accept the. We prepared. There were two documents that were prepared. Okay. One was on the finances, which was, I think, about 10 or 11 pages. Then the other one was the general one, which is about over 200 and something pages.
So the answer to Alhaji Salam's question is that, yep, preparation, handover notes were indeed prepared.
Yeah, and we did hand them over.
Okay. Also, Ola, let me quickly get Ola in before I go on break. Ola in Abuja. Good morning to you, sir.
Hello, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir. And I also greet your guests in the studio.
Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Hello, can I go on?
Yes, please continue.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Hello?
Please continue. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes, sorry. It is often said that he who cause equity must come with clean hands. Can we have your guests in the studio to hold up or not to the fact that APC was engaged in apparent vote buying? In fact, some APC members were arrested and they're still on prosecution for engaging in vote buying on the election day. So it is erroneous for him to come on here and accuse the PDP of rigging the election, whereas his own party was involved in vote buying. So if who comes to equity must come with clean hands. APC has not come with clean hands in claiming that they rightly won that election. Thank you very much, Yori.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ola, calling in from Abuja. I'm going to go on a break now, but that's what we shall resume with when you want to comment on this. Please stay with us. We'll be right back to continue the conversation and indeed taking your calls.
You and your hair go through a lot. The heat, rain, chaos. It's a non-stop war against total breakdown. But just like you, your hair can stay strong no matter what. Mega Growth Break Free Daily Leave-In Strengthener for all hair types is infused with a unique blend of natural oils and conditioning proteins that helps protect your hair. Mega Growth Break Free, your daily defense against breakage.
Okay, welcome back, and I'm having this chat with the former Chief Press Secretary, a journalist, Mr. Ismail Omekwedan, former, the Chief Press Secretary to the former Governor of Osun State, Ademola Isiaka Oyetola. And just before we went on break, a call came in from Abuja, as one did indeed from France. Thank you very much. But the call from Abuja was by Ola, and he said that you come to equity, you got to come with clean hands. And as far as he is concerned, considering that it is out there that there are a couple of supposedly APC members, that are being, prosecuted is the word, for, election malpractices. What would you want to say about that?
It was specific. It said vote buying.
It's a malpractice, but vote buying.
No, it was specific. Thank God. From the analysis I had given so far, I didn't mention the issue of vote buying. I think what Ola is trying to tell me is that if I'm saying that they were overvoting in 749 polling units, APC also bought votes in some areas. That's the point he's trying to make. But the point is this. After the Osun election, we all saw the reports, just like we saw those of other states. I am not sure issue of vote buying dominated the media the way it did in other elections. So where he's getting his information from, I do not know.
No, but
hold on, excuse me.
Let me let you, because
hold on. But since some persons were said to have been arrested and they have been prosecuted, why don't we wait?
Okay.
You
are accepting that there are indeed such people being investigated as we speak,
some persons
according to news reports.
Some persons have been prosecuted.
They're allegedly APC members.
Well, that is what they say, but like I am saying now, that let's allow let's wait so that we'll see, because
to run its course.
Yeah, because you see, sometimes the way the thing is done is funny. For example, when I was going to my polling unit in Ila, which by the grace of God I eventually won, I had some money with me. Now, if I am unfortunate to have been arrested by anybody, I'm sure they will say that I wanted to use the money for vote buying. And the money I had with me was to entertain people around my unit, and also take care of the guests that will come and visit me at home after the election. So why not preempting the outcome of the judicial process? Let's wait, and by then we'll be sure of what actually happened as far as the case is concerned.
Okay.
But that will not in any way negate the fact that we were able to establish that they were overvoting in 749 polling units.
Okay. So you're doubling down on that.
Yeah.
You're saying that that is the case. I hope that Ola, can work with that particular answer. Sulaiman is on the line from Iliogbo in Osun State. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Hello, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is Sulaiman from Ilobu, not Ilobu. Ilobu.
Oh,
Ilobu.
Ilobu. Indeed. Thank you very much.
So, I get your guest, Mr. Ismailit, the former governor of Osun State.
Thank you, sir.
Now, Uncle Yori, if my memory did not fail me, I could remember that they used BIFA for Osun election. So your guest claimed that there is over 14, right? So I would like to know that, okay, where there was over 14, was BIFA not used, right? So because they made all understand that BIFA will correct all these anomalies, right? And another thing I would like to ask your guest is that he made mention that when they came on board, nobody gave them a chance. But he forgot that the former governor Oyetola was chief of staff of Adeleke. So it's the same party, the same government, and there is a continuity in government. So nobody gave them a chance. Is this a continuity of APC government?
Indeed. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your calling in, Sulaiman.
The only thing Sulaiman failed to acknowledge is the fact that the road leading to Ilobu, which was awarded by the federal government for several years, which they couldn't complete, we were able to fix it. We started it before the election. And in spite of the outcome of the election, we went ahead to complete that road. We just inaugurated that road recently. It was former governor of Ekiti, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, that came to inaugurate that road. I felt he should have acknowledged that and given us kudos for that, because that road was influenced by the former deputy speaker, who is from Ilobu. And for the period he spent as Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, they couldn't control, the federal government could not complete the road. We were the ones who completed the road just recently. Now, having said that, yes, it is true that BIVAS were used. And
yes,
that is
the BIVAS point.
Yeah,
that
and that is why we are insisting.
If you are claiming overvoting.
It was from the BIVAS report that we saw cases of overvoting. For example, ask those who covered the election in Osun. The INEC viewing portal, when we were viewing it, at some point, when people started raising eyebrow as regards the fact that number of accredited voters we had variance with number of votes being declared. At some point, they stopped showing number of accredited voters on the INEC result viewing portal. And if you go and read the Yaga report, one of those who observed the election, they said it very clearly that in some places, number of votes declared were at variance with number of accredited voters. So these are the things we are challenging, and we are challenging them so that it will help INEC to prepare very well for 2023 elections.
Okay, let me bring in Fidel, calling in from Owerri. Good morning to you, sir.
Hello?
Good morning, Fidel. Good morning, Fidel.
Yes, okay, I can hear you. Do I go ahead?
Please go ahead.
Hello?
Please do go ahead.
So, my name is Chief Fidel Onyenek, and I'm calling from Owerri. I know we are playing politics, but I expect those in government to know that government is a continuum. And all the people you are leading, for instance, when you go and nullify appointments that were held and so on, these are people from Osun State. The essence of governance is to ensure that people are employed in different places. I want to suggest that Osun governor should take it easy, set up appropriate committees to review certain things he felt the last government did very wrongly, and not a situation where there will be a blanket order to either sack people, condemn people, cancel certain things. All these things are not the best for the development of the state, because these are Osun people, and they are not going to bring outsiders to take their position. But let the corrected be done to total review, setting up panels and so on, and making sure that the right people are put in the right places. Thank you, and God bless you. I'm Fidel Onyeneke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yeneke, for calling in. The other thing, you know, Governor Adeleke's first steps, a number of them. The other one is freezing the entire accounts of bank accounts of the government, which was also announced. I don't know what you have to say about that, because we did hear that the new administration had frozen all the accounts. That suggests to me that maybe they have their, what word should I use now? Apprehensions, shall we say?
Well, I wouldn't know what led them into taking that decision, but our books are very open.
And I think they also included was stopping all commitments,
well, there was
that especially those that they felt were rushed in the dying days.
Well, I am not sure there was anything we rushed. Anything whatever we did, we had planned them. For example, that road I spoke to you about, the Lubu Road, we flagged up the construction of that road, I think in April or so, and the election was in July. Now, even after the outcome of the election in July, we didn't say because of the way the election turned out, we abandoned that project. We went ahead to complete the project. And today, our people around that axis are happier for it. Nigerians who travel from north will have opportunity of plying the same road.
Okay.
Now, from January 1st, 2022, my principal made it very, very clear when he was felicitating the people of the state that yes, the year 2022 is an election year in Osun, but that as a responsive and responsible government, we will not allow politics to take shine off governance. And we indeed walked our talk, because until the last day, we were working.
So whether the accounts were frozen, when they are reopened, when they investigate them, you guys, you're feeling you're good. You're good.
We are good. We are good.
Benga in Abuja, good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Omipidon. Good morning, Mr. Irori.
Good morning.
Good
Thank
morning,
you for calling.
It's a long time we saw Mr. Omipidon on TVC. But this time around, not on journalist Hangout, just to come and tell us about what happened in Osun. You are welcome, Mr. Omipidon.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Omipidon, when your principal was in the speech, he said he was stepping aside. Is he stepping aside to come back the next 4 years or the next 18 to 20 months? If the next 18 to 20 months, where is he getting that confidence from? Because he that alleges has the burden of proof. And you know it's a marathon. This thing will go to Supreme Court. So he has to guard his iron cast evidence. to remove a governor that has labored for, the last one, he narrowly missed it. Now that he got it, he will not want to leave it. So people should prepare for that marathon. Also, and I wish him well. Anyway, but to the governor, I want to say that he's not starting on the right footing. Because the civil service is the hub of the operation. They are the bathroom that do the work. If at this stage he's sacking civil servants, some said that stayed for 30 years and now they have done there's a vacancy, they have done interview, they have done exam, and they are promoted or appointed, whatever way, you sack them. I don't think it's good for him. If I were him, I would labor to make sure that the next coming election, the PDP has the largest number of house members. It's not working for that. It's sacking people. Because if the next election, it works against him that APC has the largest number, he may not have a smooth stay in the next 4 years if he's still in there. So I wish he to think twice before he does anything. If he focus on making sure that PDP has the largest number in the House in the coming election, that should be the goal, not to sacking people now. Thank you.
Thank you indeed very much for calling in. Really, I don't think we need to say very much about that. He was talking about he who alleges must prove, and you spent a lot of time at the top of the program explaining all of this. Why I said that, time is precious.
And I thank Benga for his compliment. And we are aware that it's a marathon race, but thankfully, by the new Electoral Act, there's timeline within which the processes up to Supreme Court would have been over. Okay. So it's not the type where you wait for 5 years to be finished the case. So we are very hopeful that in no distant time, the judiciary will dispense of the case, and by the grace of God, we are hopeful that we'll carry the day.
Okay. Just as you are saying that, I imagine the other side will also be saying that by the grace of God, they know that they are here to stay. It is natural. Okay. Really, we can't go too deep into it, but we just wanted to talk about the, Governor Adeleke's first steps. And we're beginning to hear, the critique that Ola just did, that, look, when you look at some things, you can't really understand it. The civil servants are who they are. Governments revolve around them. When there is no politically elected governor person, it is those people that keep the state or whatever afloat until constitutionally elected person takes over. So this whole business about some permanent secretaries running foul of the new administration, even that is probably going to lead to litigation. That is going to lead to litigation, as Benga was saying from Abuja. I mean, guys have served, have earned, have written their examinations, and So, in the words of Benga, he didn't feel that that was the right step. A lot of people have also made that particular point, that the civil service is mostly untouchable for politicians. There are rules, guidelines, the constitutional provisions, and all of that, right?
Yeah, you see, one thing about that aspect of the issue is that, when we came in, there were a lot of issues as far as the civil service was concerned. As a matter of fact, the perception out there before we came in was that progressive government are anti-workers, anti-people. And so we set out from the one to change that narrative. We set out from the one to change that perception, and we succeeded, because virtually everything the civil service wanted to make sure they were efficient were being granted them. For instance, they talked about promotion that they got before we came in but had no financial backing. They talked about persons who had stayed on the position for a long time before we came in. All those were granted. In fact, on May 1st, again before the election, they came up with 7 demands, part of which was that they wanted abolition of coordinating directors. Before the appointment of permanent secretaries, what we had in Osun was coordinating directors. So in May, the labor movement came up with those demands, about 7 of them, and Mr. Governor granted all the 7. And by the Monday following the May Day, we started the implementation of some of those things, issue of promotion, to the extent that even a day to the election, about a day or 2 days to the election, some civil servants were still doing their promotion exams to show that we meant what we said. So the appointment of those PAMSECs was again a fulfillment of the promise we made. Because if we didn't do it, for instance, I know some persons who will take us up, that we pride ourselves of fulfilling our promises, that we pride ourselves of not saying what we cannot do. How come we didn't do this? And so it's on record that we were able to do virtually everything we promised we were going to do. And in the history of Osun, cross-check, Oyetola's administration will be the first administration so far where for 4 years there was no civil unrest, either from workers or students, because their bursary were paid. It is under Oyetola that we never had any kind of strike, even for 1 minute. You know, so for us, it's a clean record.
Okay, and that's probably why your principal was surprised at the outcome and has indicated to us that
some of
he is optimistic of regaining his
because
seat.
you know some of the civil servants fell to the lies of the PDP. You know, under Ademola, there was this half salary that were owed civil servants. There was backlog of pensions, which we paid from anyway. We started paying.
Okay.
No, we didn't clear.
You didn't clear it all.
There was no way we could have cleared.
But you did take a stab at it.
Yeah, with substantial. You know, so the PDP now told them that within 6 months of their coming into office, they will clear the backlog of those pensions, and they also clear the half salary. So the workers came to us and said, look, this is what these people have promised. So personally, I engage with them that I should tell my principal that even if we are not going to do it, that we should just say it. I said, no. I said, my principal will not say such a thing. He lives in lying. He doesn't believe in lying.
So what you're probably saying is that you're waiting to see how the incoming administration is going to pull it off.
As we speak, workers in Osun have not collected their November salary. And I need to place on record that my principal signed off on the salaries on the 23rd of November. So that they have not been paid is not because we refuse to pay. But those who were in charge of executing it, apparently taking instructions from the man who had not been sworn in, connived to ensure that workers didn't get their salary.
Okay, let me just end on this last one. I don't know how big it is, but the state of Osun has now become Osun State, like everybody else. You know, it's Lagos State, Ogun State. It is no more the state of Osun. That has been reversed. Any particular comments on that?
Well, it wasn't my principal who changed the name.
No, he was chief of staff at the time.
Look, Uncle Yori, thank God we are both in the media industry. A line editor is not the same thing as the editor. The editor is not the same thing as the CEO.
Yes.
The buck stops at the doorstep of the CEO. And so you cannot now hold the editor responsible for a decision that was taken by the CEO. We must get this thing very clear. In any case, if you look at the style of my principal's administration in the last 4 years, you will know that it's significantly different from what was witnessed under Ademola in 8 years. Okay. So that shows that there's a difference.
Okay. But that was left alone, maybe for, you know.
No, there was some legal encumbrances around that. There was a court case that was instituted, and, you know, my principal always follow due process. In any case, the single uniform that we reviewed, it was instituted by Ademola, but because before we came in, it was a major issue. It even became a campaign issue. And we promised that we were going to look at it. And once we came in, there was a thank you tour. There was a DFID citizen needs assessment. This issue came up. And so we had no choice but to sit down and look at it. And when the review committee turned in their report, they recommended that we should go back to 6334, because before then, we were not doing 6334, that we should reintroduce the early child education, that we should change, we should go back to the old school system, that we should go back to the old uniform. And that old uniform really helped to revive the economy of the state, because those old women and men selling school uniforms, doing tailor, we're back to business.
Okay, well, so you don't have a comment one way or the other on the matter of the name of the state, but Governor Adeleke now says that it shall become like every other state. It shall have state after its name, as opposed to any other device. Okay, but I want to thank you very much, Ismail Omnikbidon, for coming on, journalist and immediate past Chief Press Secretary to the Osun State Governor, Ademola Isiaka Oyetola, who, has said that you can refer to me now as the previous governor, but he's optimistic of coming back into that seat and continuing his work.
By the grace of God.
Thank you very much.
The pleasure is mine. God bless you.
So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.
The World Cup season is here again, and you can almost feel the excitement in the air. The best national teams in the world will be battling it out to determine who lives the coveted FIFA World Cup trophy come December 18th, 2022. Wondering what each team's shadow looks like, where the seat in the standings, who will be playing who, and what to expect? We've got you covered with all the previews and reviews you need to stay right on top of everything in Qatar on FIFA World Cup Fans Special Show. Coming live on TVC News YouTube Daily for 30 minutes, 50 minutes preview before the match, and 15 minutes review post-match of the day. Keep up with all the actions happening in Qatar with expert match previews and reviews from our seasoned sports pundits. And guess what? You also stand a chance to win loads of exciting prizes when you predict correctly the outcome of the match of the day. To participate in FIFA World Cup Fans Special, subscribe to TVC News YouTube channel. Enter your prediction in the comment section of the match of the day video. Use the hashtag FIFA World Cup Fans Special in your predictions. Finally, include the last 4 digits of your number with your predictions. Let's play!
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Black Friday is here, and ShopX TV is proud to bring you a very special offer. We all know the benefits that come from eating a healthy, balanced diet, but sometimes that's not always easy, until now. ShopX TV is proud to introduce the NutriBullet, the must-have kitchen item of the year. Here's how it works. First, add spinach for fiber, berries for antioxidants, and some banana for potassium. Add water, and watch how the NutriBullet completely breaks everything down. Even almond nuts, cashew nuts, and tiger nuts have been completely broken down. The NutriBullet is not a blender, it's not a juicer, it's an extractor, a crusher. It's a grinder with a 600-watt motor combined with bullet cyclonic action that forces everything into its extractor blades, breaking down, pulverizing, and crushing stems, seeds, and skins, and releasing all the essential nutrients trapped inside. Tired of using blenders that are difficult to use and produce poor results? Yuck! Watch this as we compare a normal blender with the NutriBullet. The normal blender struggles to get through to the finer ingredients where all the nutrients are stored. But watch the NutriBullets just absolutely crush everything you put in. Stems, seeds, skins, nothing is spared. With its 600-watt motor blades and bullet cyclonic action, there's simply no contest. There's so much you can do.